Well, I've awoken from my slumber to tell you that another week of arena and indoor football has passed. It's come and went. And well, we are so ever so close to the end of the National Arena League season. And right now, the Southwest Kansas Storm are basically in front of things to be in front of things. They are 8-0. They have a couple games left. You know, the Bandits, the Punishers, and the Liberty have all clinched. The Spartans should be able to clinch if they can get a win, over the next couple weeks, really. I mean, really, the Spartans are in, but it's just a matter of formalities at this point. The only question here coming out of the last couple weeks of the NAL season is, can the Louisiana Rougarou and the Amarillo the Warbirds, can they get some momentum going in and trying to keep the Beef from getting into the playoffs? And the Beef have won 2 straight, of course. It's really been interesting to see how the NAL, aside from Dallas, of course, who's still posting and doing things, by the way, or at least trying to do things, trying to get deals and stuff done. It's really interesting to see how the NAL is going to navigate this playoffs with the 6 teams they're going to have. Southwest Kansas is as strong as anybody. Sioux City is looking really, really strong. They could, give Southwest Kansas a run for their money. Pueblo's been kind of iffy, and that's why Colorado was able to beat them this past week and everything like that. And the Liberty, they're also pretty good. But if the Beef can rebound with the signings and stuff that they have, I think we're going to be in for a good time. Meanwhile, in the IFL, it was certainly something. I think a lot of people's expectations of Quad City has just been like, oh, they were going to go for the championship, and now look at them, they're getting blown out at Green Bay. Fishers and not Massachusetts. Orlando. Remember that the Orlando Pirates now had to go into a barn burner. San Antonio gets their second win of the year. Jacksonville was able to stop Tulsa on a last-second play, and then Arizona just beat the brakes off of Tucson. This week in the IFL, the American Dream Mall is taking center stage for a couple of big matchups, and it should be very intriguing to see where all this ends up. Meanwhile, in the AF1, I don't think I've seen some more crazy games than I think I've seen. Washington was able to get a victory over Beaumont. Nashville beat the brakes off of Oregon. Albany, was struggling a little bit. They would still beat Kentucky by 18, but it's just the fact that they struggled a little bit. And then Minnesota, was able to win by just 3 against Michigan. So I think the AF1, again, another good week. Tyler Kolka is looking even better. Sam Castro came back to Albany, and he's been cooking. Now Kolka Mania. He just cooked Oregon, man. It was a bad week to be a Lightning fan, let me tell you. Meanwhile, in the AAL, it was rough for teams that are not named the Columbus Lions and the Wheeling Miners. Jersey just got smoked. And it was even worse. In Mississippi. The Wheeling Miners, despite the fact that they have clearly lost a step in many aspects this year, not some of the same guys that have been around for, the last couple of years. Obviously, Columbus usually just kind of reloads anyway, with more guys that are local and, around and about. But now you're telling me that this Wheeling team is basically going to be the team that can take Columbus on. And I think that's a really good possibility. That's a good hypothetical, There's just so much in the AAL right now that you could say is like, oh, well, it is what it is. Like Wheeling getting their game booed from this upcoming Saturday against Michigan. Now they're facing the Pittsburgh Outlaws, and the Michigan Raptors are going to play somebody else. I think it's the Michigan Grizzlies that they're going to play. So, things are moving around because of playoffs and other sports. So, it is what it is. Speaking of things moving around, there was a game that got flexed in the IFL, which is like, whoa. I've never seen that happen before, an IFL game getting flexed. But I mean, it's because New Mexico's pretty bad, so, I understand. Again, the IFL Cup is this week, so it starts this week. Then, next week it'll be, some more nonsense with whatever the American Dream Mall is going to give us. Of course, a lot of guys are going to be live at the American Dream Mall. We have a bunch of guys that are going to be going, So all the guys that are going, BJ, Krish, Trey, Logan, and Sturgy, you guys are living the dream right now. You guys get to go to New York. You're out of New Jersey. You get to go to the New York area, but it's New Jersey. Y'all get to have fun out there. I get to keep working. Isn't that fun? That's fun and all good and everything like that. Of course, all graphics that you see in this video belong to the respective teams of the AAL, the IFL, the NAL, the AF1, and the IAL, which I'm about to talk about in a minute. So just give me a second on that. Well, and then the Penn Benjamins decided to lose to Arizona. Cincinnati beat Utah, and then the European League is whatever. I don't really care. I really don't care about the European side of things. They were able to get the European teams over here. Zurich obviously folded and everything like that, but the IAL is playing. I mean, at least they're playing. At least things look interesting, Cincinnati, Arizona, and the Penn Benjamins, even though the Penn Benjamins just suffered their first loss. Everything's looking real intriguing on the IL side of things somehow. I don't know how, but it's looking good. And then to kind of close things out for me, obviously this week was another intriguing week. TAL is doing their thing. The AAL2 has some stuff going on with some schedules and stuff like that, and some teams kind of moving around, like Tri-City, kind of flaking. Carolina kind of canceling a game. Again, TAL, we're getting ever so close. We're a couple weeks away from the season starting. Ozarks is continuing to sign guys. And I could tell you off the top of my head right now, I don't even know who's going to win the TAL this year. The cease and desist in Minnesota is kind of stalling at the moment. There's really nothing I can really say there because there's really nothing that has been said on the cease and desist that hasn't been said already, and nothing's come of it just yet. So, it's not a West Texas situation just yet, but it could get there if things go the way I think they might be going. But I don't think they are, honestly. I think the TAL is just kind of sending out empty threats right now. But who knows? The legality and all the parameters of that situation with Minnesota and TAL is it's still something to think about in the back of our heads here as we continue to inch closer to the TL season and see how they respond to Minnesota playing. Again, a lot of races to the playoffs are heating up. We're almost halfway through the IFL season somehow. Almost there. And again, the NAL is wrapping up in just a couple weeks. So, there's going to be a lot of talk with those 6 teams that are going to make it into the NAL playoffs. But other than that, from me to you, I'm going to get on up out of here and, might have to try and make my own graphics over the next couple weeks because I don't want to keep using graphics from everywhere else. So I think we'll try. Keyword is try, but you all know graphic design is not my passion. So Big Boy Sports is signing out, and I'll see you all again next week. There are a couple of interviews coming. I have secured number 4 and number 5. So they will be coming over the next couple days, Sunday morning, and I believe Wednesday afternoon, probably preferably Wednesday evening, if I can get the things in place. I realized I might have messed up a little bit trying to get that on a Wednesday, but we're going to work around it. We're going to see how it goes and everything like that. I'm kind of exhausted right now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. So I'm going to get on up out of here and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Continue to watch the channel.